Okay, hi. So I have a couple minutes before I have to leave my house. And I had a video that I wanted to make. Like, I had a little epiphany probably like almost 2 weeks ago, but I travel a lot for work and I just travel a lot for, you know, fun. And I have not had any time. And so the good news is I have to leave in like 20 minutes. So you guys are spared the majority of my rambling. And um, I have said like before, like this is just kind of like a living monologue for myself. I kind of wish I did this my whole life. Like every time I had a little aha moment that I went and like processed it on camera so that I could go back and like re-listen to it. And like I said, I'm a verbal processor, so I'm working these thought forms out in real time. Um, and so if this helps somebody, like that's awesome. But like there is a lot of downtime in my videos. Like I talk slow. There's a lot of like pausing and I'm kind of like downloading. And I do have like in my normal life, like I have a little bit of dyslexia and some other stuff that I know it affects my ability to like recall certain words, especially words that I don't use on an everyday basis. And I have a really hard time recalling information. And I think there's a lot of different directions I could go with that. For one, we're all in our own process and like we're all trying to become like our highest versions of ourselves. I am not. So when you meet me, like I never want somebody to look at me and think like, oh, she's like traumatized or slow or whatever. But I am, and I hope that doesn't come off if you were to meet me in the normal day to day. I speak pretty fluently, and I can hold a conversation. I talk a lot faster. But when I'm being thoughtful, or when I'm like working things out, or when I'm stressed or whatever, I do have a hard time recalling things. That's probably just part of like my history, my past. And not that it like matters, it doesn't matter. And I don't lead with this if you were to meet me in a normal situation in the world organically. But I have something called CPTSD, so complex post-traumatic stress disorder or something or other. It totally affects my ability to hold on to like short-term and long-term memory, and that involves like word recall. So in these videos, like I appear to be a ditz, and that's fine if you think that. I'm not. I'm a very intelligent woman. But again, when I'm working things out for the first time, some of these things are things I have never said out loud or like processed out, Anyways, so like if my long pauses are too much for you, either change the speed 1.25, 1.5, or like don't listen. Because honestly, I do think like source, like God wants this information out and it's available to everybody, and like you're gonna find like the right vessel for you. And I hope that I speak to the people that are like on that same, like can meet me where I'm at. And, you know, there's people that are way more advanced than me and can spit this information out fast. And like, if that's who you need, like, go find them. You know, I think God is super abundant, and that's including wisdom. And I ask for, it's like one of my affirmations every day is that I'm all knowing about the truths of the universe and God and the unseen. So I think like God wants to speak to us, and if I'm not the vessel, there is no offense taken at all. I go back and watch my videos, and I'm like, oh my God, you sound so dumb, because I'm just like So sorry if you meet me in real life. I can talk normally. So, anyways, my little epiphany that I wanted to speak on, and another thing, like some of these things like are not like, oh my God, like groundbreaking. I think it's just like knowing from like experience, and then there's like when God or the universe or source or whatever like gives it to you and like you're like you understand it on a deeper level. It's, you can say these things like, oh, we're all one or whatever, and you're like, yeah, but then sometimes like there's another level to take it to, and it's like profound. Even though you're saying the same thing, it means something completely different. So when I'm speaking, this might sound like really elementary, but dig deeper and ask God or source or universe to like give you the next layer of it, because there's like we're going to be forever understanding and like learning, and I think it's like so interesting to like be on earth and uncover all these layers. It's also the most frustrating thing, and I get really pissed off and yell at God all the time about it, but at the same time it's pretty cool. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. This is every freaking video I've gotten emotional, but it's a beautiful thing to like be spoken to by the universe and understand these things. Okay, so anyways, so my little epiphany is, if we're under the concept that we are all God, and that could be God living in us like how the Bible speaks about it, or that like consciousness is God and we're all living inside of God or whatever, like, but essentially like a lot of manifestation teaching, although like I like kind of like the spiritual side of it more, like I'm not even really here to teach about manifesting. It's like a byproduct of digging deeper into the spiritual realm, and I think it's a gift from God to be able to manifest. So when you're under the understanding that like, okay, like we are all God, let's say, if that's how you want to put it, then sorry, let me say it more specifically. You, in your reality, if string theory is true and there's infinite dimensions and realities, I would say it's safe to say that right now, like I'm occupying this consciousness, and in some like, 50 dimensions over or whatever, that's where yours is, and they don't really override because it's our own experience. And again, if this is like if reincarnation's real, then maybe I'm gonna live out your version of consciousness and your experience as consciousness in my next life. That's a whole nother thing. Okay, so right now I hold all the consciousness in my reality, and so great. But you don't know that when you're born into this, experience. And you just assume like your experience is like everybody else, and everybody else has free will and all this stuff. And especially when you're young, your parents are teaching you like what is truth and what is not. And nobody's teaching kids like, oh yeah, like you're the creator of your universe or your reality or your experience. No. Also, that's like dangerous. Kids would do you imagine like being a kid and being like, I'm the king of the universe. Shit would go crazy. So it's like good that we don't know it, okay? Because like we couldn't handle that responsibility as children. We grow up. Okay. Sorry. This is so good. I was getting a phone call. Hold please. I'm gonna make this fast. So now we come in, we don't realize it. And as you're learning and as you're growing, and unfortunately so many of us have shitty caregivers and people that are teaching us things that aren't true, but because our beliefs create our reality, it does become true. And so I just lost my train of thought. Okay. So when we're children, we're taking all this in, and you're learning, and thank God children can't, children are creative and I think they do manifest a lot, but like they're not in their full power because you have caregivers and you do depend on other people. So kind of the good and the bad of that, because everybody's kind of traumatized, you know, a lot of the time parents don't do a great job and they pass on their own insecurities and yada yada yada, right? Or you have a teacher, it doesn't matter. At some point in your life as a child, somebody, you know, pushed their agenda on you, their reality on you. And when that happens, because we're kind of living in a state of not being aware of our full power, and it could be out of survival, or it could just be out of like laziness, or, you know, not having the ability as a child to make these choices wisely, we give our power over to other people. And sometimes I touched on this in another video. Sometimes it's out of survival. If your parents are abusive, or your caretakers, or your teachers, or somebody in your life when you're a kid is abusive, and they're also the person in charge of feeding you, clothing you, giving you shelter, I don't see how you couldn't give your power over to them. Now, if we are all God experiencing God consciousness, Christ consciousness through this perception, you know, me as Madison, I hold all the power. You don't get a say. Nobody gets a say. It's me. But in this example of growing up, and maybe you're just don't have the best people around you, you're gonna eventually, out of fear or you know, wanting to keep the peace. Again, if I'm speaking from like an abusive, like, and not all abuse looks like, you know, there's like covert abuse, there's like subtle abuses. If a kid, and even just wanting to be accepted, that's not even being abusive. Like if you just want like the love of your parents or and your peers, you know, that's just part of the human experience. And you might give your power over to, let's say, like a popular kid in your class, and you kind of let them tell you what's what, and you let them define who you are, right? Because like we're kids, and if we think like Billy is like the coolest thing ever, and Billy says like, well, your shirt's dumb, and you like loved your shirt, right? Like when I was a kid, I was like obsessed with Blink-182. If I was wearing a Blink-182 shirt and, you know, I had a crush on Billy, or I thought, you know, Jenny was like the coolest thing ever, and they like made fun of it, like, ew, like, what are you doing? Who knows? I might be like, oh yeah, ew, and like never listen to them again. That's me giving my power over to them. So, you know, adolescence, it's like tough to navigate. And at some point we probably took our God-given power, which is us, the soul operator, this like it's whatever we say goes in our reality, and we hold the power and yada yada. And we start like breaking it off. It might be for survival, it might be for acceptance, it might be for love, it might be to keep the peace. It might be out of laziness, like, I just don't want to deal with, like, whatever, like, here, you're in charge now, whatever you want. And even like a lot of adults, you'll see it, like, people are like, just tell me what to do, I don't want to think, just tell me what to do. That's us giving our power. Now sometimes it's like very like we don't even realize we're doing it, right? So you could unwillingly give your power away as a child, and then it goes into adulthood if you're not like consciously aware of how you're operating. And then we play out the patterns that we learn in childhood. So if I gave my caretaker all the power out of survival because I needed clothing, food, and love from that person, as an adult, I might go into my relationships and give power to those people because I just want, like, I have like a core wound of like survival and love and whatever. And now we're willingly, it's not for survival, because as a kid you really do, that's true, like you need your caretakers. As an adult, that's a misconception. That's just like your core wound playing out, and it's like, it's false. And so we're like willingly giving our power to people because we think it's survival, but really it's not. We're just not like operating in who we are. And then there's also like, willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly. You could be giving it away in your childhood and as an adult. And so in this little vision I had when I was meditating, the original plan, like the original, see here, this is where I'm like, I have a hard time recalling words. I'm not using the words that I want to use, which is really frustrating. And so I'm like filling with like other adjectives or whatever. Okay. It wasn't the original plan. The original plan was for us to hold our power and be taught in our upbringing how to use it correctly and to not abuse it, and then also not be abused. Well, we live in a fallen world. So, in this like vision, God showed me like, you have to call it all back. And that starts in your childhood, from parents, from siblings, from teachers, from peers, from relationships as an adult, jobs, bosses. Like, we sacrifice so much of our power for like nothing, because we live in this world where fear is the main like product getting like pushed on us. Like, that's how I would say like the evil operates in this world. It's like, because if you knew how powerful you'd be, like, they couldn't exist. The evil couldn't exist. Poverty wouldn't exist. Abuse wouldn't exist. Illness, disease, hunger, anything you can think, it wouldn't exist. We would all be living in like a utopia. Now, like, that sucks. I don't know if it's like intentional so that we can like overcome that, to like know our power, or it just was a byproduct. Like, it just is a necessary evil, because the duality of life, if there's good, there has to be bad. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in my evolution of thought, but it exists. Evil exists, and it operates through fear. That's its product that it pushes. That's what's marketed to us. Be afraid of everything. In the Bible, the number one, actually in most spiritual, and like, I've only really studied the Bible. Like, I don't know the Quran. I don't know like a lot of the others, like books and teachings well enough to speak on it, but I do know, don't be afraid and don't fear is the number one phrase in all of the spiritual books, like, that we would know. And I think it's like easier said than done, obviously, and it's so simple, but yeah, we exchange our power because we live in fear. Now, obviously, easier said than done. Okay, so I just did like a really simple technique of like pulling back my power from everybody in my reality, like, and then I clean it up every day. Like every time I have an interaction with somebody, I'm like, ooh, I feel like I like let them take my power. I'm like, nope, that's mine. And that you can use revision after or in combination with that. But you can give your power away, and you can give people free will in your reality. That sucks. Don't do that. You can. And yeah. So take it back. Pull it in, see it coming back into you, like thank it for, like returning to its owner, and like bless those people that took it. Either they wanted to take it, you gave it willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly, whatever the situation, that doesn't even matter. Just take it back. Now that you own it all again, now what you say goes. What you think is going on is what's going on, and you're the owner of all the power in this reality. Another little tidbit that I got was in our world, because fear and like wanting to be accepted and wanting to be loved and all these things are such powerful here I go again. Forces, that's not the word I wanted to use. Influences. It happens, and a lot of people are asleep. A lot of people don't understand that they are the owner of their reality. And that sucks too. But even people that are awake to who they really are, they have a hard time with owning it. It's scary, especially if you lived your whole life letting people tell you who you are, what you're doing, being like motivated by money or love or acceptance. And side note, throughout all my manifesting, you want to know when I got the most and had the best, like the fastest results? Authenticity. When I'm authentic to myself, and I'm not a people pleaser, and I don't agree with this person, and I don't do things motivated for money or fear, dude, that's when that shit just ran into me. Because if you are authentically yourself, then of course all the things that you want, like they recognize you, like, yeah, that's a perfect fit. The money or the perfect job or the perfect relationship. When you're wearing a mask, why would something be able to even recognize you that it's a perfect fit? You're falsifying who you are by being a people pleaser, wearing a mask, or being fake, or like running after like material things are fine. But I'm just saying, like, if you're a shallow person and you're not in alignment with who you really are, like things can't come to you. You're not like yourself, so it doesn't like match up. Okay, so when we do give over our power to people, either for whatever reason, what I saw was, and this is kind of crazy because it's like such a popular term nowadays, is because our power is God-given. When we give our power over to somebody else, we are making them the god of our reality. We're letting like what they say go, like what they say, think, whatever, like the world's revolving around them. And that is how you create a narcissist in your reality, or a psychopath, or an abuser, a toxic, whatever. The word that came to me was narcissist. And I've experienced narcissists in my life. I've had 2. Fuck. I had to learn a lesson twice. Actually, I've even had, I've had more than that. I think I've had 4. But in different contexts, right? Okay. So, and I fucking gave my power to them. I was so scared, you know, because that's how I was like raised. Like, that's my program that I played. So yeah, it's hard to like undo the programming and reprogram yourself, but like it is not impossible. And guess what? Guess what I can spot from a mile away? A narcissist. I smell you from way over there. And those are the people that you have to especially be authentic with. There's no people pleasing, there's no fear, there's no giving them power, because they will fucking take it and run with it. And then you lose control of your reality, even though you are the God. You gave your power over to and let somebody else be your God. Fuck that. So I think that's all I wanted to say. Easier said than done. So like a lot of, I think self-concept work is really important. Everybody has different theories on what is the best way to manifest. What I feel like now, like my best self-concept work and best manifesting, I'm like, I'm the only one with power in my reality. What I say goes. Nobody else is allowed to think. Nobody else is allowed to decide. What I say goes. What I think goes. I hold all the power. I hold, like, however you want to word it. Those are my self-concept affirmations now. Like before, it was like, everybody loves me. Everybody respects me. Okay, cool. Yes, but also I think one step further should be, I hold all the power. Nobody gets any power. And if they tried to take it or I gave it, I take it back. That shit is done. That ship has sailed. I take all my power back. And I'm the only one that holds any power in my reality. I think that's so powerful. It's so, yeah. Anyways, I gotta go. I have to go pick up my friend from the airport. Their flight was delayed, and that's why I was able to do this. And let's pray that I'm not late. Let's assume it to be true. Okay. If you got anything out of it, I'm so happy. It makes me so glad. If you didn't, I also don't care because I'm doing this for me. That sounds bratty. I'm not trying to be a brat. All the information that you want is ready and available for you, and I might not be the way that you get it, but it's out there and available to you. And if I am the way that you get it, that's so dope. Okay. Okie doke. Thanks guys for watching. Bye.